question on my mind, and maybe the rest of you guys, is the 3-liter EcoDiesel coming in the 2020 JL Wrangler worth it? What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Casey, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about Jeep JL Wrangler engine options. If this is your first time stopping by the channel, I do upload weekly videos about Jeeps, off-roading, parts reviews, parts installation guides, and every now and then we do actually take the Jeep out on the trail. So think about hitting that subscribe button if you want to see any of my future videos. With that said, let's break down some of the options that we have available to us in the new 2020 Jeep JL Wrangler. I'm going to look at fuel economy, fuel capacity, horsepower and torque, and price. I've been making a couple videos recently talking about different JL options that I may be looking at in an upcoming purchase, and I wanted to cover engine options. In the last video, we did talk about axles and what it would take to run 37-inch or 40-inch tires, but I wanted to talk a little bit about motors because we have a brand new motor option for 2020, and that is the all-new redesigned 3-liter turbo diesel. Now, I know many of you have commented on my videos about what you think I should do, and I appreciate everybody's feedback, and I do read all the comments and try to reply to most of them. And a lot of people say, just put a Hemi in your JK or do an LS swap. But guys, I have a lot to consider with a Jeep upgrade. The first big one for me is gonna be reliability. One of the big things that I want to do more of, especially in 2020, is get off of Vancouver Island with my Jeep and go explore some other trails further away. That means long road trips, guys. That means 10, 15 or more hours in my Jeep and then off-roading wherever I am. And as much as I would love to swap the motor in my JK, I don't have the skills to do it myself. And then with anything custom, there's always going to be problems or gremlins or issues along the line. And I just want something that I don't have to worry about. I get in my Jeep every time and it starts and it goes, and it's gonna take me on these road trips and take me back and not cause me any, well, anxiety, because that's usually what happens when my Jeep starts braking. I don't think that a motor swap is in the cards for me. All right, enough about that. Let's talk less about my Jeep and talk about JLs in general and maybe a future Jeep. We'll see. You have to subscribe and keep an eye on the channel to see what's coming next. Let's talk about the motors in the JL. We've got basically, I'm gonna sum it down to 3 options. And guys, I'm only looking at 4-door Jeeps. I'm not interested in a 2-door. Nothing wrong with 2-doors, but 4-door for me. I do have a family. They do come on these trips occasionally. And I need to bring a lot of extra gear with me as well. I'm gonna get this out of the way now. I'm only looking at automatics. I love manual cars. I love to drive manual. The Corvette is a 7-speed manual, but when I'm off-roading, I usually have so much going on with cameras, or if Maddie's with me, it's just easier with an automatic for me to kind of manage all the things going on when I'm out off-roading. Guys, I love manuals. I love to drive manuals, but for me in a Jeep, it's just not gonna work. So let's talk about the engine options. What do we have available to us? Well, first of all, we have the tried and true 3.6 liter that we've seen all the way back to the 2012 JK. That 3.6 liter has been coming in the Jeeps. The Pentastar has been a fairly reliable motor, but in the JL, it is combined with the new 8-speed transmission. JLs that I've driven have had the 8-speed in them, and it makes a world of difference being able to keep it in that power band. The other option is gonna be the 2-liter turbo. The turbo, though, seems to have more torque in the lower RPMs, a little bit more gas mileage, and then last but not least, introduced in 2020, and we haven't seen any of these on the road yet, we've only had a few glimpses at them, is the 3-liter turbo diesel. Now, this is already starting to arrive in the 2020 Ram, so we're starting to get a first look. I know what you're gonna say, the EcoDiesel is a pile of crap. Well, Dodge, Fiat, Jeep, whatever you wanna call them, completely redesigned. This is the 3rd version of the EcoDiesel. This has been said to be 85% all new parts over the 2nd generation diesel, which just plagued the Dodge Ram between 2014 and 2016. So we are not getting the same motor that we've seen historically in the past in the Ram 1500. It is completely redesigned. They have addressed, or say they have addressed, many of the problematic issues that have come up with owners of that motor. So I'm really hoping that this motor is going to be a lot better when we see it arrive in the JL Wrangler. So which motor do we pick? Well, I've kind of looked at 3 ways to break it down. Now, first of all, we have fuel economy. We all love to save a little bit of money on gas, but we're all driving big old bricks down the road. Is fuel efficiency really at the top of our list? Probably not, but let's talk about it anyways. All right, so quick look at the EPA ratings. I'm gonna look at both the 3.6 liter and the 2 liter turbo as well. Since there is no official ratings from Jeep on the new 3 liter turbo diesel yet, I'm gonna just take a look at what the Ram 4x4, the 1500 Ram with 4-wheel drive, is getting, and we can kind of compare it to the Hemi motor that also comes in the Ram. But if we're looking just purely on the rated fuel economy, the 3.6 liter is rated at about 20 miles to the gallon for combined city highway. The 2 liter turbo is only rated at 21. So there's only a 1 mile per gallon difference between the 3.6 liter and the 2 liter turbo. Now the Ram 1500 with 4-wheel drive, now keep in mind the 2-wheel drive does have a slightly higher fuel economy rating. The 4-wheel drive is getting 24 miles to the gallon combined. And that is up over 7 miles to the gallon with the Hemi motor version. They're getting an extra 7 miles to the gallon by switching from the Hemi to the 3 liter turbo. Will we get an additional 6 or 7 miles to the gallon with the JL Wrangler? I guess we'll have to wait and see, but if I do end up with one, I will be sure to do some testing and show you guys. So that is an interesting one. That is quite a bit of potential increased fuel economy. As I've said to others, when I go on road trips, I don't look at miles per the gallon, I look at dollars per hour. And that's usually around 20 bucks an hour to run my Jeep on the highway when I'm on a road trip. So maybe I can save a little bit of money, which means more Jeep mods. The diesel is only going to be available in the 4-door and the automatic, which is great for me because, as I mentioned, that is what I'm looking for. There is a little bit of difference in the fuel capacity between the gasoline versions, both the 3.6 liter and the 2 liter turbo, and the 3 liter turbo diesel. The EcoDiesel is going to be coming with an 18-gallon fuel tank with it. That is a little bit smaller than the gasoline-powered 4-door Wrangler, which has a 21-gallon fuel capacity. So you're gonna have a little bit of a smaller tank. Hopefully you're not stopping as often because you're gonna get better fuel economy. So let's talk about the most important one. This is probably the biggest driver in motor selection for me, and that is power and torque. How much horsepower versus torque, how much horsepower and torque do each of these motors have compared to each other? JL equipped with a 3.6 liter has 285 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque. I always got to make sure I say that in the right order. So that's where we're kind of starting off. That's the tried and true 3.6 liter Pentastar that we've seen all the way back to 2012 with the JK, now available in the JL with the 8-speed automatic transmission. 2 liter inline 4-cylinder has a little bit of a different power ratio. It has 270 horsepower and 290 pound-feet of torque. So we're giving up a little bit of horsepower for a little bit more torque, which can be nice when you're off-roading because you're gonna get a little bit more torque starting out, possibly if you're trying to bump over an obstacle and you need that power a little bit sooner. All right, let's talk about the 3 liter EcoDiesel that's gonna be available in the JL. Now it is gonna have the lowest horsepower of the 3 at only 260 horsepower, but it has a whopping 442 pound-feet of torque. Now you may notice that is a little bit less than what is available in the Ram 1500. That's due to engine configuration, airbox location, keeping it out of the water. The Jeep engine bay isn't as great for that motor to breathe and cool, so it is rated a little bit lower, but still, 442 pound-feet of torque is awesome. I mean, that's gonna turn 37s and 40s like they're not even there. So that is a really compelling reason to be looking at the diesel JL Wrangler for me. So what do we know about pricing? Well, FCA has already released some pricing information for us, so it's gonna be no surprise when this hits the market. In US dollars, of course, it will be a little bit more for my Canadian viewers and me, because I live here. But Jeep is saying that it is only going to be a $4,000 additional option over the 3.6 liter. However, you do have to get the $2,000 automatic transmission option. You cannot opt for the manual. So it's going to run $6,000 over the base 3.6 liter manual to get the 3 liter EcoDiesel in your 2020 JL Wrangler. So that isn't that much, honestly, because I'm going to get the automatic anyways. $4,000 US, so probably 100 grand Canadian. It's not a whole lot more than just going with a 3.6 liter. It is going to be the first year this motor's out, and I'm sure we are going to learn a whole lot about it. What do you guys think? What engine would you select for the new JL? I think that diesel is a really interesting option. I'd love to hear what your guys' opinions are. I know the 3.6 liter is fairly reliable. It's been a really good motor, and it performs so much better with that 8-speed transmission in the JL. I got a lot of thinking to do. With that said, don't forget weekly uploads, guys. Don't miss anything. Hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys next week in the next video.